Hi, welcome back to part 4 of our HaloPSA Integration Runbooks series. Today I'm going to be taking you through the built-in Halo API functionality within the Runbook steps. Because over the last few videos we've touched on and talked about how to create custom integrations, how to create your own methods to query the Halo API, and how to find the information to use and to build those API queries. But there are some built-in functionality within the Integration Runbooks that mean that you don't have to create additional methods for some basic actions. You don't have to create your own methods, or you don't have to create the Halo API custom integration in the first place. So it's unlikely that you'll get away with every single runbook without having to do that. But when you're just doing a basic get ticket or create ticket or some other basic function in Halo, then quite often you can get by with the built-in Halo API functionality. So if I just present the screen, we're already in the custom integration runbooks within configuration. And we're just going to create, straight off the back, we're going to create a new runbook. And we're going to call this get and create ticket. Just because I want to demonstrate how we can use the built-in Halo API functionality to get tickets or get a ticket, and also how we can create a ticket. So I'm going to go into the flowchart tab. It'll automatically come up with step 1. This we're going to do get tickets, and we're going to choose action. Instead of an integration method, which is what we've gone through in previous videos, instead we're going to choose Halo API action from the action type dropdown. Now you're given the option to choose an action, and we'll just take a quick look at some of these. So what we've got is the ability to create and update tickets straight using the native functionality. Interestingly, with these two, create ticket and update ticket, basically query the same endpoint, the tickets endpoint on the API. The only difference really is that with an update ticket, it'll add this ID field for you, just so you know that you need to include an ID. If you're going to update a ticket, we have to give it the ticket ID that we want to update. If you don't provide a ticket ID, it will create a new ticket by default anyway. So that's how those two functions work, which is basically the same thing, but with or without an ID. You've also got the ability to create an action, so an action within a ticket. You can create and edit customers or sites. You can create users, edit users, lookups. I haven't really done anything with that previously in a runbook from here, but you can also do ticket rules, knowledge base articles, assets, purchase orders, and finally you can get tickets or get a individual ticket. I'm going to start with get tickets. So I'm going to choose that as our action. We have got the ability to return a batch response, which will basically create an array, and each object will sit within the array for the tickets that come back. In our case, I'm not necessarily bothered about doing that. But there is also, you'll see here, there's a table of like a key table. These are basically parameters that you can pass to the get tickets or to the tickets endpoint. Now, in terms of the parameters that are available for you to use, best thing to do is to drop into the Halo API documentation and take a look at the tickets endpoint. So click on tickets on the left-hand menu, and this will give you a list of parameters that can be used and passed when you're doing the query. The one thing that I'd like to bring attention to is the search functionality. So I'm going to go to our options here. Now add a search, and because it's the demo data, I know there's mention of Outlook in the tickets, so I'm just going to use Outlook as the search term. We can also specify that we are looking for open only in terms of tickets, and that's a Boolean, so true or false. So we can specify that we only want to look for open tickets. So we do that as well. And I think that's it. That's all I want for now. Then we are going to show capturing some output variables again from a built-in action rather than a method, as we've done before. I'm just going to hit save on that. You can see that it's branched off to 2 steps for successful and unsuccessful. I'm not really going to do anything with those right now. Just going to save the runbook, and we are going to trigger it by going to the details tab and hitting run now near the bottom. This will give us a log of the action of the runbook that's completed. So we can go in here, we can see the log as the steps that it took, and we can also see the data, the request data. So wherever there's been an action that's gone and received data, we can then see what's happened there. I'm going to drill into this. This is our only kind of step anyway in the runbook. And we can see we've got 200 response. Let's go into that. And from that, we can see record count at the top, 5. This is quite useful to have a record count, because if there was no tickets, if we searched for a term, we could establish whether a ticket already exists, an open ticket already exists with that term. Where this is useful in runbooks is that if we're creating a ticket automatically, let's say there's a runbook that I've got that checks certificate expiries. So it looks in Microsoft's Graph API for any Azure certificates that are going to expire, does it on a daily basis. And if there are, it brings that back and creates a ticket. Now, because it checks it daily, we don't want it creating a ticket every day if we've already got an open ticket about that certificate. So having the facility to search for something, so for example, a name of an automated ticket that you might be creating, you could search to see if it already exists for a specific customer. And if it does, then you'll get a count. And so we can ignore creating a new ticket. If the record count is 0, then there's no existing open ticket, and we'll want to create one as part of our runbook. So that data alone is quite useful using the search functionality. But then we also get the rest of the ticket data. You can see the date occurred, the summary, the details. Because there's 5 tickets, there's effectively a list of 5 tickets in here, all related to Outlook. So that's how you can search for tickets. From that, what we can do is we can pull some output variables now. So within the action, we're going to grab some of this information from the output. Again, I mentioned the other day that on the other video that you could use the online JSON viewer. If you drop the response, copy and paste the response in here, you can then click on the viewer tab, and this gives you a breakdown of the structure of the JSON so that you can see how to use it for output variables. So we can see this is always the response at the top level, and then we've got an array of tickets, and we can drill in, and we've got our 5 responses. The arrays always start with 0, but then we've got the data within each of those from each ticket that contains the word Outlook. So if we go back to our runbook and we drop into our flowchart again, go back into our HaloAPI action. On here, on this page, scroll down, we've got output variables. So we're going to capture some output variables. The first thing that I want, and I'm just going to pick the first ticket. We could drill down and filter this array out, but we're keeping it simple at the moment. And I'm just going to take it based on the first item in the array. I'm going to capture the ID, because then we can show you how to get a specific ticket as well. But we'll capture the ID. So we can see the ID is an integer. It's a number. And if we go back to our runbook, we're going to get this as first ticket ID. We'll just call it that for our name. It's an integer, so we're looking at a whole number. And then how we do this, again, there's some details here to remind you, but we start with response, and response is equivalent to this where it says JSON right at the very top. This is our response. And then we're drilling down to different levels. So next level we're looking at is tickets, and that's an array. So we've got response, use the caret, tickets, which is our next level. It's an array, so we need to specify which item in the array that we're interested in drilling into. In our case, I'm just going to use 0, which is equivalent to the first one in the array. So we're saying we want to go into array for tickets 0, and we want to pull the ID field from this. So that's going to be simply ID. And this should pull us our ID of the ticket number from our response. So we're going to save that one, and I'm going to copy that because we're going to create some more. The next thing that we want to do is we are going to grab the summary from here, and let's just take that. So that's the summary is a string. We can see it's a string. It's surrounded by quotation marks, and we are going to capture the string, and this is going to be the first ticket summary. And I'm going to copy in the response. Again, we're just going to take the first in the array. And if we just check on here, it's summary. One thing to note is this is case sensitive, catches people out occasionally. So this is case sensitive. So we want summary, all lowercase. So, summary. And I'm going to put an exclamation point at the end. That'll just remove the quotation marks. Tends to be a bit. I want to remove the quotation marks, add them back in later on if required. So we're going to capture that, and that gives us 2 output variables. From that, if we hit save, we've got this second step. So if that successfully pulls a list of tickets, it's going to go to step 2. And with step 2, what I'm going to do, actually just to show you, I'm going to get ticket. I'm going to get ticket, and we're going to use HaloAPI again. We're going to do get ticket this time. And it says here, use ticket ID as a key to specify which ticket to get. So if we go in here, we can specify ticket ID. And then in the value, I've actually not tested this yet, but in the value, we're going to do first ticket ID. Did I have this capitals? Save. Let me just go check the output variable. No, yes. First underscore ticket ID. Yeah, so we are going to hopefully, because I've not tested it using the using a variable for this, see what happens. We can pull that and get the information from that ticket. Again, this is just purely for demonstration. I'm not saying this is a practical use case, but I just kind of want to show you some of this functionality. And I'm going to test that first because I'm not entirely sure even if it works that way. So let's go. Run again, go to the log, completed, request data. So we got our array, 2544 should have been the one that we captured. And we did get 2544 as the response from the get ticket. And you can see that that's got way more information from the ticket as the array did with the 10 tickets, which just had basic information. So kind of that gives you an idea as to how we can use both the get tickets and get ticket functions. Now, just to finish it off, I'm going to, again, this is not a practical demonstration. It's purely to show you, this function. If we go and we create a ticket as our next step, and we are going to do action, HaloAPI action, and we're going to do create ticket. Now, when you do create ticket, it does start with these kind of built-in fields for you. The match third-party ID, I believe that's used if you're trying to bring something in from a third-party system, and there's an ID in the third-party system, you could use that to match against it within the system. I'm going to leave that there. It's going to be irrelevant, and I'm going to leave that there as well. It's going to be irrelevant. We could just remove these lines if we're not going to use them, but I want to show you when it creates a ticket where it places that, just so you know. And summary, what I want to do with this is I want to use the summary that we've gathered from the output variable from the first step. I can't actually see what it's called here. Just one thing to note on this is that if you can't see the output variables or the runbook variables on the right hand side, it's because you have to save, come out of the runbook and go back in. And at that point, you'll then see a list of any of the variables that you've got. I mean, if you remember the name of them, it doesn't matter. This is just there to help you. It should actually autofill, but for some reason there's a bug whereby I can't click these to enter them into the box. So I'm just going to put in here. We're going to do first ticket summary. Again, doesn't work. So first ticket summary. Finish that with a quotation mark and a comma. And then in here, I'm just going to write HTML details. As it's HTML, you can use HTML within here. So if I put a couple of breaks in, for example, and then say this is a new file. There we go. All right, so that's done. We've got ticket type ID 1, priority ID 2. I'm just going to leave that as standard. Again, if you were doing this for real, you'd kind of work out exactly what you want and build this out. But this is purely just to get you familiar with the process of using the Halo API create ticket function. And we'll hit save on that. Now, I'm just going to tidy these up because typically when you're doing a runbook, it will create all of these for unsuccessful. You can go in and specify that that's an end step, and you could put failed, and the result is failed. And I'm just going to do don't retry. You can get it to retry from the start. And I'm just going to do the same for these other steps. Fail again. Right. And this one is going to be our successful end. Success. And success. Save. Right. So we've got our completed runbook with each step. It's going to get tickets. It's going to get the 5 tickets that contain Outlook. It's going to get the first ticket and return that. And it's going to use the output variable from our first step to create a new ticket in the final step before finishing. And this still basic, but if we hit run now, back into the log, refresh that, that's now finished. We can see the log steps. So it's got get ticket, create ticket, success. So that worked. Go to our request data. We can see, well, these are the get tickets and get ticket. Let's look at the final step, which was to create the ticket. And our response says 201, so that's a success. And it's created a ticket with ID 2824. If we go to our tickets list, we should now have a 2824. There we go. And it's taken the summary name. So we've got the HTML details. This is a new line. And it's taken reset Outlook password, which was the output variable from the first step where it got tickets. And it just looked at the first ticket and picked the summary out from there using those output variables. The one thing to note in output variables with the Halo actions versus in a method, we would be able to press the test button and see if it works straight away. Whereas in within the Halo API actions for these output variables, we don't get any verification that we've captured the right data. So if you are struggling with that, probably put it through a method, do it manually in a method and test out your output variables first, and then move it through. So that's been the Halo API built-in functionality for Integration Runbooks. If you haven't watched the previous videos, recommend doing that as well. It's got details on how to build the methods and the custom integrations. And we'll be moving on to conditions and then moving on to array iterations in the runbook in the next couple of videos. Thanks for watching again. Please, if you found this useful, please subscribe. It will help build visibility on the channel and hopefully help more people to see this series. Thanks a lot. And if you need any help with HaloPSA in consulting, implementation, or any support, then also feel free to reach out to me, Joe, at MSP Blueprint. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.